Now that we can create data in our database, we have hit a new problem. What if a user sends us an invalid data? We will get a database error or corrupted data. So we need to validate incoming request. This is where DTO and pipe come in. The pipe is a class annotated with an injectable decorator, which implements the pipe transform interface. That means that pipe has two typical use cases. First one is transformation. The pipes transform input data to the desired form. Second use case is validation. The pipes evaluate input data and if valid, simply pass it through unchanged. DTO means data transfer object. It is a simple class that describes the shape of our input data. So come here, we need to install class validator by running this command. So copy this command and execute it in your source codes. Paste it and then launch it. Now we can create our DTO and then our pipe validation. Before doing that, we need to create a file called DTO. In NestJS, a resource refers to a full set of code operations for a specific entity. The fastest way to create one is using NestJS CLI. So we will run in our CLI the following commands: nest generate resource users. We need a REST API resource, so validate REST API. Would you like to generate CRUD entry points? Yes. In a single command, we generate a module to organize everything. We also generate a controller which handles REST endpoints. We also generate a service class for our business logic, a DTO for input validation, an entity for our database connection, and finally test files. We will not use an entity file because we have already implemented Prisma in our source codes. So we will not use it. We can delete this folder, simply delete. Okay. Now we need to use DTO. Open the file, create user DTO. In this file, we will define the required attributes of our model. For example, here, for a user, we need a name, email, password. So we need a name of that string, email of that string, password of that string. Now we can use comma semicolon. We need to add semicolon. Okay. For user, for the name, we need to check if the name is a type of string. We need to check if a name length, is 4 characters. And finally, we need to check if the name is not empty. If it is empty, we will output a message as the name is required. For the email, we will use the decorator is email, and also is not empty. If it is empty, we will display the message email is required. For the password, we will use these decorators. Is string is not empty. If it is empty, we will display message password is required. Min length or minimum. Yeah, you can write its minimum 8 character required. Okay. Also, we use decorator match. We check if our password matches with some criteria. First criteria is lowercase required. So at least one lowercase character is required. Second criteria is at least one uppercase character is required. So here we will say at least one digit is required. Okay. And finally, at least one special character is required, and we can put the update user, extend create user, because we also need the same thing in update user. So we can leave update user as it is. We need also to create a resource for task. So in terminal, run NestJS resource task. So yes, for REST API. So yes, we will also create resource for the remaining model role and permissions. Yes. So open the folder task DTO. So it's the same thing. For task also, we need name, description, and status. So name, string, description, string, status. Status, which is of type enum. So status is type status from Prisma clients. Good. For task, we can also use same thing, the string main length. Okay, the name is required. We also need the same thing for description. Also, the description is required. In F10 characters, we will use is enum decorator, is enum status. Now it remains for roles. Don't forget to delete entities files, entities folder. Sorry. Delete, we don't need it. For task also. Create role. For role, we need name and permissions. So close this, close this, close this, close this. Okay. For role, we need the name, and we can also add min length free. A role has one or many permissions. So type permissions. Permission, we will create another DTO here. That we will call permission. Okay, which is of type enum. Okay. Let's check it once again. For role, we need name, permission. Okay, user. So for permission, we need a resource and actions. So we need a resource and actions. Okay. And permission is also linking to role. Good. Finally, we need to activate our DTO by putting a validation pipe in our main TS file. Okay, so as we can see in the documentation here. So in main.ts file, we need to add this line. App use global paths, new validation paths. So copy this line, open our source code, open main.ts file, and add it here. Let's import it. We can add some options such as whitelist, also transform, yeah, true. Whitelist true delete all fields which are not defined in the DTO. That means that if we are sending another fields apart from what we have defined in the DTO, it is not be considered by our NestJS application. Transform true, transform type of all incoming data. Okay. It is optional. You can add these options or you can also delete it. It is up to you to choose what you want. Now we can move on our controller and service to handle data.